What's your reaction here to Gordon having a job and Dez not having one?
Disgust. It's on two levels. And I want to preface my comments by saying the comments that I'm about to make are not first take. Max Kellerman, Molly Karam.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Rhymes with harem.
I know. I want to mix it. I'll remember that. I want to make sure. I want to make sure that I just want to preface it. These are my comments.
Okay.
It disgusts me because of a couple of big reasons. Number one, I see that Dez Bryant has been maligned. This is not about football. Dez Bryant is being kept off the field because he's been labeled a locker room problem. There is no question about that, because I don't care about the down year you want to point to or the absence of a step. He's lost a step, et cetera, et cetera. Dez Bryant can play some damn football. Dez Bryant belongs on a roster. Now, I understand he turned down about $5 million. I think it was from Baltimore or whatever, and that's a different issue. But the bottom line is for teams not to be calling him, for teams not to be calling Eric Reed, for teams not to be calling Colin Kaepernick, but you calling Josh Gordon. I got an issue with that. And I'm going to say something that people don't pay attention to enough. But somebody got to say it, Ryan. You know, it's interesting. When it comes to African Americans in the world of sports, I don't know if anybody has noticed this, but did you know that sometimes they would prefer to have an athlete with problems like Josh Gordon than athletes who might be a problem like a Colin Kaepernick or a Dez Bryant? Does anybody notice that? Has anybody ever asked the question as why? Because I'm going to ask that question. I'm going to speculate what the answer is. See, when you're troubled, you're easily controllable. Because if you Josh Gordon, what position are you in to stick out your chest and demand anything? What position are you in to speak your mind and speak up about different issues? What position are you possibly in to be empowered in any way when you've got the kind of problems that he has? But somebody who obeys rules and regulations and conducts himself like a respectable, civilized human being like the Eric Reeds and the Colin Kaepernicks, you can't get a job. Somebody like Dez Bryant has a mouth, just like T.O. had a mouth, but T.O. showed up. T.O. worked hard. T.O. cared. T.O. played hard. You didn't want him. So much so that it carried with him once he retired. You didn't even want to put him in the Hall of Fame when he was clearly a first ballot Hall of Famer. So my point is that I'm looking at it, and I'm not trying to imply that this doesn't happen to white athletes. I'm not trying to imply that. What I am saying is, in a world of professional sports, where you got money involved and what have you, it seems to me like the more problematic you are to yourself, they are more forgiving of that. But when you are considered to be a problem in other ways, they want to ostracize you. And that is what is bothering me about this, because Josh Gordon might be a good guy. He don't deserve no damn job ahead of Dez Bryant.
Yes, he does.
You've confused. Go ahead, Max. You go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Stephen A., I agree with that point as it relates to Colin Kaepernick and especially Eric Reed, who's still a good player. Colin Kaepernick can say he's not really a starter. Is it worth the trouble? I don't buy that argument, but okay. Eric Reed's obviously a starter. He's a good starter. Can't get a job. And so you're right. What is NFL ownership saying and the GMs, the front offices saying? Because they called what Kaepernick did a protest. No, Kaepernick decided quietly, he didn't seek attention for it at first, to not participate in a ceremony that wasn't compulsory. That's not the protest. The protest is the reaction to him. They're protesting what he wants to do during that time, in fact. So, yes, that's right. The idea of Kaepernick not being controllable in that way, or Eric Reed or other players, that's a very interesting point as it relates to Josh Gordon getting a job and not, let's say, Eric Reed. But as it relates to Dez Bryant not getting a job, Dez Bryant's just not as talented as Josh Gordon. I mean, Dez Bryant, the last time he was a real top-flight receiver was 2014. Josh Gordon, when he has been on the field, has been top-flight. He's fast. Dez Bryant's not fast. Josh Gordon, as a 22-year-old, led the league with 1,600-plus yards. I mean, he's something Dez Bryant's never done, and he did it in like 14 games. Josh Gordon, it was like the original Odell Beckham in the sense that at his age, he shouldn't have been as good as he was. Now, that kind of talent titillates because people believe, what if we can harness it? And they're willing to put up with all kinds of other stuff. Josh Gordon is more talented than Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant is not a get separation guy. He's a 50-50 ball guy, and it comes along with issues, according to former Dallas Cowboys teammates, right? So I agree with you wholeheartedly on the point about Eric Reid or Colin Kaepernick versus Josh Gordon. But I simply disagree about Dez Bryant. I think if the Patriots thought Dez could help them more than Josh Gordon, they'd have Dez. They think Josh Gordon is better. They took Josh Gordon.
But shouldn't it matter that Josh Gordon's only played 11 games in the last 5 years versus Dez Bryant's been out there? I thought availability matters as well.
There's going to be some problems in these arguments. One, I absolutely agree with everything you said about, one, troubled players being controllable because they don't have the cachet or they don't have the standing to question a lot of things that teams do. Two, I believe that Eric Reid should most certainly have a job. Eric Reid should be a starter in this league. Eric Reid has done nothing but conduct himself in the way you would want players to conduct themselves within your building as a leader. That's the other thing. The thing I disagree on is Dez Bryant doesn't get to get mentioned with Colin Kaepernick. He doesn't get to get mentioned with Eric Reid. Dez Bryant's locker room problems, Dez Bryant's deterrents aren't those of social activism. They aren't those of what's now being called the anthem protest. He's just undesirable. Dez's output and Dez's talent no longer outweighs the other things that Dez brings to your team. And not
you
only
think he's really, like, forget the talent. You really think that he's a distraction in the locker room? He's a problem in the locker room?
I think Dez has showed he's more a problem now that he has the freedom to speak, the freedom to tweet, the freedom to show who he is on a daily basis. He's hurt himself because now you look at it like, dude, you're not even on a team, and I hear about you more now than I did hear about you on Sundays.